Good morning. Court will come to order. It is Monday, December the 7th, 2020, 9 a.m. in the Commissioners Court. This is a special Commissioners Court meeting. Commissioners Court is now in session. We'll remind everyone to turn your cell phones to vibrate so we don't interrupt any speakers in the court. And this is a special Commissioners Court meeting, so we don't have our prayer and pledge like usual, but we do continue to have public input. If there's anything that the public would like to address the court, this is the opportunity for the public to do so. But it has to be something that's not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we ask that you wait to speak to us until that item is called. Is there any public input? Okay, there being none, then we'll ask for commissioners' comments. Precinct 1.
Well, it's a good turnout for the sheriff's retirement, but I see he's back, so boomerang. Thought we'd wave goodbye and everything.
Well, I don't mind leaving right now, Commissioner.
It was a good turnout, and it was very well executed. You know, and it was the first event in the Happy Bank exhibit hall. So I think that that was the first one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First one I've been
So, and your last retirement party. First and last, though. That's all I got, just
okay.
a little fun.
Precinct 2.
Let's see, in Precinct 2, I've mentioned in the past that new quarry operations are going on. A lot of noise. Heard a lot of people call this weekend. They were operating on Saturday, so we're going to see if there's within the limits of the noise allowables, and hopefully we can have a town hall meeting on that subject when the coronavirus is going to enable it, us to meet. So, or else we'll ask for special compensation or dispensation from the judge to have a meeting somewhere. But a lot of neighbors are upset about that. So anyway, that's all I've got.
Okay. Precinct 3.
I think just a little bit of an update of the stakeholders meeting, which is the city, county, hospital, schools, emergency coordinators meeting last week, and it was a little bit different tone in that the thought was that it's not doing a lot of good just telling people they have to wear masks. Everyone said to wear a mask and the virus would go away, and it didn't happen. And it was kind of but it still felt by the majority that masks do help, but it needs to be done in a more positive way. And one of the interesting things that came from Dr. Blanton was that generally the flu starts up the 40th week of the year, noticeably starts up. We're in it's 50th week right now, or 49th, and there's virtually no cases of flu in the state. And they attribute that largely to the social distancing, awareness of hand washing and mask wearing possibly. I mean, who knows exactly how much it does. But all of the concerns certainly has been noticed on the flu side. There's very few cases so far. But the idea was that, it's a lot better approach to probably ask people to social distance and stay in small groups rather than threaten them. It's kind of a carrot rather than the hammer approach a little bit better. And so I thought that was a good outcome of that meeting.
Okay.
Precinct 4.
Precinct 4 is now under a burn ban as of last Saturday morning. We're dry. We need rain. We haven't got a whole lot in a while. So we're on burn ban. That's about all I got.
Okay. The only thing I would add is in watching Meet the Press yesterday morning, I learned that COVID is now the #1 killer in the country. So regardless of whatever these percentages are, a lot of people are dying from the COVID-19, which is always concerning. We're doing what we can. For the public, if you could see us, we're about not 6 feet apart, we're more like 10 or 12 feet apart in this courtroom. And the people that are not are all in masks at the back of the room. And that's pretty much as good as we can do at this point. But I just want to remind everyone that COVID is real, and we have to figure out how we're going to cope with it. And this is the season where we start all the Christmas parties and social gatherings, and everybody gets excited about it. I know there's COVID fatigue out there. People are sick and tired of it. But at the same time, we have to be mindful that it is out there, It is real, and we're going to have to try to take what precautions we can. So, with that, let's move on to the consideration agenda. Item 1.1, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to renew the interlocal agreement between Kerrville Independent School District and Kerr County to use the Youth Exhibit Center as a reunification site if the need arises to evacuate one of the KISD campuses.
I think I left some handouts somewhere. There they are. Thank you, sir. Okay. Good morning. I'm going to remove my mask while I speak to you guys, if that's okay. Tell me if it's not. Okay.
No.
Let your glasses unfold.
Yeah, that's the number one priority, as I can see, actually. So this was probably the second or third time that I've been before the commissioners asking for this interlocal agreement to use the Youth Exhibition Center as our reunification site. Kerrville ISD strives to be prepared for any emergency that might arise, and one of those needs that we do have would be if a campus becomes uninhabitable, that we have a place to go that can accommodate up to 1,400 students and 100 staff members or some odd. So just ask that the commissioners approve this interlocal agreement, and if done, then I'll take it to the Kerrville ISD Board of Trustees this coming Monday night, and we'll get everybody's signatures, and we'll have another year of this agreement.
Wait, is this the same as the existing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Only thing
The
that
county
changed are the
attorneys
dates.
looked at it?
I have, yes, sir.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve renewing the interlocal agreement with KISD to use the Youth Event Center in the event evacuation is necessary for their campuses. Is there any discussion? The one thing that caught my attention when you rattled off the numbers, Wade, was 1,400 students and 100 employees, 1,500 people at the Youth Event Center. That's not going to meet COVID requirements, right?
Yeah, no, sir. And that's, this is one of these worst case scenario type of situations. And so if we were using it as an evacuation site, COVID we would have to accommodate for that to the extent we could, but we would be dealing with some much greater concerns in that moment than COVID. And unfortunately, that's just the truth of it.
Well, I'm all in favor of the interlocal agreement with KISD, but I want the public to understand that if we have such an emergency like that, we still have to abide by the COVID safety plans.
Yes, sir.
If
And we would strive to do so.
we utilize the show barn, it would probably meet the requirement.
Right.
Sure.
They just couldn't use, they'd have to use more of the facility than
Right.
air conditioned
Right.
HVAC
It should
portion.
be spread out.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate those thoughts, and certainly we would always intend to use the air-conditioned portion of the building, but if something were to happen in this period of time, I know from talking to the gentleman out there who runs the operation that we would have access to as much as we could possibly have access to at the time.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Wade.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is 1.2, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a request from KISD for an easement on the road and bridge property for an electrical easement for K-Pub services.
Yes, sir. And I brought a computer with the but I'm actually just for the sake of keeping us moving this morning. I see that looks like most of you have a copy of this. If you don't, I brought some extras. Would anybody like me to bring you a handout?
Got it?
We got it.
I don't think I do. Thank you, sir.
Computer rather than trying to fiddle with the computer. It might take me longer than this is worth having the time to take on it. So, okay. So as you are probably aware, Kerrville ISD passed a bond in 2018. One of the projects that was approved in that bond program was the construction of a new ag facility to replace the one that is currently on Spur 100. We had two options to come into the property with three-phase electrical service. One was to come in off of Spur 100. There's a three-phase electrical pole that's close to Highway 27. The other way is there is also a three-phase electrical pole on the Kerr County property. What we like about the Kerr County property three-phase pole in comparison to the Spur 100 entry is that we have some, and if you look at probably first let's start with the third slide, third page. You can see that is a satellite image of the Kerr County laydown yard and the youth league baseball fields or little league baseball fields. And you'll see the red line that's kind of down toward the bottom there. And that red line is the line of which the proposed electrical line would follow. So there's a 3-phase pole on the left side of that line, and we would bring it into the Kerrville ISD property following that fence line that borders the laydown yard and the Little League field. Then once we got it into the Kerrville ISD property, we would follow the fence line to the new site for the project. What we like about the route coming in from Kerr County is that there's a couple of very large, beautiful trees, and that's the second to last page that you'll see where we would hate to have to, if we came across the road there, that tree is either coming down or it's being severely cut and affecting that. There's the creek right there, I believe that's Third Creek, and just want to save these trees. Don't want to have to cut anything down or risk damaging or killing them through the process of trying to make way for this line. And so today, I stand before you to basically get your permission to move forward with the granting of an easement. Kerrville ISD will pay the surveyor to survey the property that would allow the easement to be written. And then from there, the easement would really be between KPUB and Kerr County after that. But we are just here today to ask in concept if this would be approved for us to move forward with the survey and bringing an easement back to the commissioners in the near future.
I talked to Wade and Dr. Faust, earlier last week?
Yeah, it's probably
I
Tuesday.
believe it was,
Tuesday.
about this, and asked Wade to just come forward with a concept before they spend money with the surveyor on doing this, and talked to Road and Bridge or Charlie Hastings, talked to Kelly, and they don't have any issue with doing this. It seemed like a logical thing to do. I think Commissioner Letts has got some other information on ball fields and.
The information is that there's a lot of utilities that are on the county side of the 3 transformers, and it is that the agreement needs to be liable for any damage to it. There's a lot of electrical lines right there and some water lines, and I think that'd be the contact for the one that oversaw that one was installed 20 years ago, and know about where everything still is. But from a standpoint of impacting the ball fields, this won't have any impact on them as long as they don't cut lines.
And there's no impact, Road and Bridge, they don't have an issue with it, so I'd move for approval for the concept to let the KISD proceed with the definitive location for the easement and all the legal documentation thereof.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the requested easement, this in form of concept plan. Do you expect some sort of subsequent approval, or is this final approval?
No, subsequent approval, pending the survey and so forth. So this is approving the concept and to move forward with KSD, then doing the work on doing the survey.
Okay, and that's what you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the motion that's before the court. Is that okay with KISD at this point?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I was here to ask this morning and get approval on. And then the second approval would be the actual easement document itself.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Just out of curiosity, Wade, do you know what kind of tree that is?
It's either, I think it's a cedar elm tree or,
Looks kind of like.
I think it's a cedar elm. But
Okay.
it's a very old tree to be that tall.
I'm gonna say if it's a hackberry, it might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not a hackberry. I can assure you that. I wouldn't be standing here if it was a hackberry.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 5-0.
Thank you, sir. All right, you'll just give me a moment to get my things and I'll go away.
Sheriff, can I ask Mary to come in? She's outside there.
I saw her earlier.
Yeah, she's out there.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
No, somebody's hat. It's Rusty's. Okay. I'll spread it, yeah.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 1.3, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a request from Kerr County Joint Airport Board regarding, 1, a declaration of emergency expenditure for hangar door repairs at 1815 Airport Loop, and 2, movement of more than 5% of the board budget. Mary Rohr.
Hey, good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I'm here to request one of the pieces and parts of our interlocal agreement to move monies from our fund balance into our capital account to pay for damage that occurred in a July 31st storm that came through Kerr County. We have a large hangar and one of the doors got lifted and moved off its rails and was damaged, and then also damaged other aircraft. We've been working with the insurance companies as well as contractors to develop a solution. So the storm damage was for the north door of the hangar. The south door is designed in similar manner, so our discussion within the board, the airport board, was to go ahead and repair both doors at the same time and make sure we have it all safe for both of our north customers, which is one tenant that has 3 aircraft in there, and our south doors, which is for 3 tenants, each having 1 aircraft in there. So I think there are 6 aircraft total. So we've been working with Jonathan and the insurance companies on making sure we get all our parts and pieces in here. So this is our request to basically, per the interlocal, to number 1, declare an emergency, and then number 2, move funds from our fund balance into our capital account.
Mary, I hadn't had the chance, I don't know if anybody from the city has, or Jonathan has, but I'd like to get a better understanding with my old engineering hat on exactly what needs to be done, what's planned, and what the options are, unless there's some need to do that urgently today. If it can be delayed a week or 2, that's what I would like to do and propose, that we defer this until then.
I have 2 questions, and I did not go back and look at the interlocal agreement. As I said at the airport board meeting, this doesn't qualify as an emergency under our emergency.
Right.
But there may be a provision in that interlocal agreement which calls it an emergency, uses that terminology, which probably should be changed if it isn't the interlocal agreement. But I need to qualify, but it doesn't qualify as an emergency for us to consider an emergency.
So are you saying then that you want to see it in writing? Because I don't remember us ever being the deciding factor to vote on emergency. So
Well,
you're saying it's going to be in the document?
Well, the issue is, for us to declare an emergency is a very narrow
Right.
way that we can do it. To me, this doesn't qualify, but there may be, the interlocal agreement may refer to an emergency expenditure going into some of their excess funds. So I'd like to, and I have to look at that contract. That's one question. And the second question, where are we with the insurance company, Mary? Last I heard, we had submitted a lot more information as to why the bid was a lot higher, or the estimate had come back higher than the original estimate.
Yeah, I had conversations with the adjuster, but I had not heard back, and I sent her some more information, and I plan to send her more information when we get information from the contractor with his final estimates.
Okay, so we haven't heard back after we submitted that information?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
I'll get hold of Brett Anderson and see where we are on this,
Okay.
and try to get that moved.
Is the door in use?
The door is in use.
Damage.
It's been reinstalled, so it's in use, so everybody's being very tender with it. Let's put it that way. And I've done a couple things to make sure that folks stay tender with it, to not be moving it quickly and things like that. But, we start having big wins again, and my antennas go up.
The issue is that the whole court understands the issue with the insurance. The insurance adjuster came out and originally it was about $160,000
Yeah.
to repair the cost. We went, because of it's over $50,000, they had to go out for bid. When the bids came back, it was $280,000. And pretty big
Yeah,
difference from what
big
the,
difference.
yeah, from what the adjuster said to what the bid came back at. And the bid information was then forwarded to our insurance
Yes.
company, TAC, and that's where that is looking at that. Because to me, there's a big disconnect between the adjuster and the actual cost of business replacement.
So I think there's two issues.
$120,000, so.
So one of the things they didn't include, which is, you know, probably didn't really think about it at the time, was that to repair the doors, either side of the doors or any of the work, we would have to relocate all the aircraft that are inside. So then there would be storage fees for the aircraft, and then to actually repair the doors is probably going to take about 6 weeks. So it also needs to include the storage of those aircraft while the work is being done, which is, I know I didn't even think of that when we first started talking about it. I just figured you could get it repaired.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
Mary, there's a couple of things. Number one, the insurance difference,
yeah,
if that was, and number two, what other options may be. So we can come back and look at this again.
okay.
We get both those answers.
But aside from those two, the request is to use the excess funds that the airport has, not declare an emergency from the county standpoint and go into our emergency.
That's correct.
So essentially use the exit, transfer the funds from the
Our fund- our
reserve at the
airport fund
airport
balance.
to a capital item.
But still, it's a big capital
It is a
investment.
big capital item.
So
Yes, it
then,
is.
item one, you're gonna disregard declaration of emergency expenditure. We're not gonna call it.
I'm
that.
confused about item 1 too. Thank you.
So I guess in our, I'm sorry, I didn't bring a copy of the interlocal agreement with me, but I'll go back and relook at it. But I understand for us to be able to move money out of a budgeted, in other words, we have an approved budget, y'all approve the budget. For us to move monies that's more than 5%, we have to come back to the
Right.
board.
I got that one.
Yeah, okay, perfect,
But does it have to be a declared emergency?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
okay.
I don't think the
Shouldn't.
interlocal agreement addresses emergency. I think simply that the airport board is requesting to move more than 5%, change the budget
Right.
allocation by more than 5%. I
Okay.
think that that's it. We
All right.
can verify it.
Let me check on the
Right.
nexus
Right.
of the emergency
Right.
declaration and the 5%.
So I think you could take emergency out of it.
Okay,
That makes
I don't think
sense.
it's an emergency at all.
okay. Take a look
So-
at it, and then Heather might be.
Do we have a motion and a second yet?
No, we're just going
Should
to
we
defer.
make the motion
Right.
and take the item number one out?
Right.
I think we just,
Is that
I'd
okay?
just
with
like to,
county
de-
attorney?
my request is defer the whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
clean it up.
Right.
I think we need to find out what the insurance is gonna cover.
I want to see if there's not some options out there
That pretty
too.
well indicates it's not an emergency.
Mary, it sounds like to me that the airport board needs to make this budget amendment, to move this money from one
One.
budgeted item to another.
That's correct.
And that's what you're really asking us to do today.
That's
Because it's
correct.
greater than 5% of your budget.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm good with that. Once we start getting beyond that, I don't know what to do about the emergency language in this, and I don't know what to do about some of these other contingencies.
Right.
I'm not good with moving to 400,000. I'm not until I understand if there's not some other options out there too.
thought
And
it was
also,
280.
and also, there may be more insurance, so I may not have to move 400,000. So I'm not for moving forward at all on this agenda item.
Okay.
And what's the 400,000?
The two doors.
560, 280, 280, 560.
Oh, it's two
160.
doors.
Yeah, two
Yeah,
doors.
do both.
Yeah, that's the reason I want to look at, see if there's not other
Two
options.
doors at 280. That sounds like the cost of moving the planes and everything will be absorbed into one of those.
It'll all be as one contract, yes, yeah. Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah, it's some big numbers.
So
Right.
I'd like to defer this until at least 2 weeks,
Or next meeting. whatever.
or next meeting, right?
Okay,
Okay,
all right. Well, thank you very much for your input. I'll be back in next week or the following week.
Okay.
Great,
good deal,
thank
thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
So we'll move on to item 1.4. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to reappoint Butch Mize to the Emergency Services District Number 2 for an additional 2-year term. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Butch's term is coming to an end. His first term, he's done an excellent job, and he's an asset to ESD number 2. So I move that we reappoint Butch Mize to the Emergency Service District number 2 for an additional 2-year term.
second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to reappoint Butch Mize to a second term on the Emergency Services District Number 2. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve amendment to an agreement with Global Spectrum LP, DBA Spectrum Venue Management, for the Hill Country Youth Event Center. Mr. Letts.
Have you a copy of that up there?
No, but I can send it to Jody and have it printed.
Judge, can we skip that one for the moment?
Okay.
Can we get an agreement that we can hand out so everyone can look at it?
Okay.
And then we can handle 1.6 first.
Okay, so we'll pass that temporarily. Move on to 1.6, which is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve financial incentives for 2020 per Global Spectrum LPDBA Spectrum Venue Management Agreement for the Hill Country Youth Event Center.
Our agreement with Spectra calls for, it's called a qualitative fee. It's up to $15,000 under 5 different categories that each year we have to basically look at the performance and decide how much of the $15,000 we think is appropriate as an incentive fee. These are budgeted. The full $15,000 is already budgeted, so it's not, it doesn't have any impact on budget other than the less we agree to spend, the more goes into the reserve, I guess. So it does have some impact there. But there's 5 categories. One is the results of customer service scores. The other is quality of food and beverage. And one is repairs and maintenance. One is creative sales and marketing. The other one is control of operating expenses. I visited with Commissioner Harris a little bit about this, and we were pretty close. And I'll tell you the amount that I'm recommending that we apply in each of these categories. Results for customer service scores, I recommend 2,000 of the 3,000. Jake said we only had one response because much of usually they visit that questionnaire, and we had one nice, good response from the questionnaires that they had good customer service, but the reality is most of the customer service was done for the county for various things. But
So this is an incentive for you, Jake?
It's a corporate incentive, sir.
It goes to the company.
Yes, sir.
So, out of the 3,000, I recommend they get 2,000 of that out of that category. Under quality of food and beverage, I recommend on this one 500 of the 3,000, and the reason for the 500 is that they did participate with trying to get the proposition passed in precinct 2. And now that that has happened, maybe we'll be able to have at least the beverage side of this enhanced out there.
Yeah.
But obviously they didn't do a whole lot there, so I didn't think that. I thought 500 was plenty. Repairs and maintenance, I recommended 3,000 or 2,000 of the 3,000. A lot of this is when things got real slow. Jake reallocated his staff to do repairs and maintenance out there a lot more rather than having it come to the cost of the county. I think that is a fair amount. Creative sales and marketing, I recommended 2,000 and 3,000. Basically, I think Jake did everything he could and has done everything he can to keep that facility being used and doing so in a very safe manner. And then under control of operating expenses, that's at 3,000 because even without hardly any revenue coming in, he was able to basically meet budget this year.
So basically, all these are capped.
Yeah, they're all capped. There's
Right.
3,000 is the maximum.
Yeah.
The total of the ones that I'm recommending is 9,500 of the 15,000 that they're eligible for. So that's how I kind of looked at it. And Mr. Harris and I said we kind of talked about it a little bit.
Right.
And you
I agree.
operate the place, Jake. What do you think? You feel safe with that?
It's just it's more of a recommendation of the court. It's based on, our performance.
Past performance.
Past performance.
Yeah.
I think with the new challenges of the year we had, nowhere would we expect or recommend to get anywhere near the full amount.
Yeah, sure.
Somewhere this number does seem to reflect our performance over the last year, based on the new reality and the future we were unable to predict. We were able to pivot very quickly, and we did save a lot of events, helped a lot of people differently than we had in the past, and we're real happy with our performance in those regards. And
You got creative.
we got creative.
Creative, and Jake has stepped up whenever we've called or anything else to help with extension. I know his crew went over there and fogged it at one time for us. I mean, just drop of the hat, they're ready to jump in, and that's appreciated. It doesn't go unnoticed. I appreciate being there and attention to detail. You know, things crop up. Sometimes we gotta be like an adjustable wrench to fit every nut that comes along and get things done, and y'all have done that.
So, that being said, you think 9,500 is fair, Jake?
It's a core recommendation, sir. I agree, whatever the core agrees to, we agree to.
He may run for political office someday.
I make a recommendation that we award the qualitative fees as I previously read for a total amount of $9,500.
Second.
Now, is there any, well, go ahead. I'll
Motion's
ask
been
my
made by
question.
Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to recommend an incentive, financial incentive to Global Spectrum in the amount of $9,500. Any discussion?
Yeah, basically, you've dropped down by $1,000 in different areas, the cap. So, that's why I was asking about past, if you had ever reached the cap.
We've never reached the cap, sir.
Okay. See, that makes sense.
I could tell you mainly our food and beverage is the one that's fallen the shortest. Without a working kitchen, we haven't really been able to maximize that profitability, you know. But the recommended amount, I believe, reflects more like year one of what the incentive was paid out.
Do you have a liquor license?
We still have our beer license. We're in the process of.
No, I said, do you have a liquor license?
No, not right now, sir. We're in the process of upgrading.
See, cocktails will
Takes
fill in
time.
out of this.
Yeah.
Now, there also, just on that topic, there's Jake is working with the Stock Show Association because they have a liquor license, or, I agree with you, they have a license to do something, and Jake has a license to do something, and we need to make sure that we're not, that they mesh, the two licenses mesh, or the Stock Show gets rid of their license and Jake takes over that portion.
Okay,
for them.
good.
It's far more complicated than one would think it should be,
Yeah.
but they're working on it.
Any other discussion? Jake, I'll say that I've been very pleased with the performance of your organization out there. But I'm going to vote against the incentive because I think people are more important than corporations. Nothing against corporations, but we've asked our people to sacrifice this year. And I don't want to disrespect our employees that forewent raises and new positions to relieve their workload. So for that reason, and it has no reflection on what Spectre did or you in any way, but I just wanted to explain to you why I'm going to vote against it. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. 4, and against, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to 1.5.
Yes.
Let me call that again. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve an amendment to the agreement with Global Spectrum, LP, DBA Spectre Venue Management for the Hill Country Youth Event Center. Mr. Letts.
Yes, as we're going to do some refinancing of our debt, our bond counsel requested that we do an amendment to our agreement with Spectre, and I think one was handed out to everybody, and it's basically just going into a little bit more clearly defines our control of the facility. This has already been sent to Spectrum, so their legal people have looked at it. They came back last week, I think. And so we just need to approve this. It's the request that we're requesting. It's coming from our auditor and our financial advisors and financial legal people, just to clarify some of the language in the agreement so that we can do the refinancing appropriately.
What in particular was changed? Is
It's
there
the- it's the
anything
con-
new?
The tax exempt.
Well, it's going to do a tax exempt, or we're tax exempt and they're obviously for profit. So we have to, it has to be clear that we control the facility, not a for-profit company controls the facility. And it goes into reiterate some of the things that we have control over.
Well, I see that here, but I didn't know if that was new or not.
Yeah.
Well, and to put it into context, we're talking about refinancing some of our certificates certificates of obligation
Right.
that are on the youth event center. In order to do that, in order to maintain our tax exempt status, we need to make it clear that we control that facility.
Sure.
Because the purchasers of those bonds need to know that this is going to be tax exempt and there's not going to be any question on it. So this just clears the air, makes it crystal clear to the IRS and everyone else and people that are buying these bonds.
Good. Right. So, I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment and authorize county judge to sign.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Blue, to approve the amendment, the management agreement with Global Spectrum LP DBA Spectrum Video Management. Any further discussion? And Jake, we appreciate your cooperativeness to help us do this.
Okay.
So with that, those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Unanimous. Okay. The last item on the consideration agenda, I really want to put over to the executive session, but it is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate, I say, yes, the next to the last item on the we have an addendum. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding authorization for the purchase of real property. As you know, you've authorized Commissioner Letts and I with the Capital Improvement Planning Committee to negotiate purchase money contracts with various sellers for property that we're looking to use in our bond issue. We have another property that we have a counter offer from that we're looking at. But if we're going but to remind everyone, we have to come back to the court for final approval if we're going to recommend that we purchase that property. And we're getting close on this one, so we just put it on the agenda, but it'd be something we probably need to discuss about the negotiations in executive session, which we're going to do in just a little bit.
And there, as part of this, the idea is that we're gonna, hopefully, if the rest of the court wants to, go out and look at both pieces of property. Because it's, we know the cost and kind of figure out the logic behind them.
But we're getting close to lick log on it, and we need to get you folded into it.
And y'all asked about a field trip executive session at the last court, and y'all can do that. If you appropriately post the alternate location for your meeting, you can go to the site in executive session.
So we don't have that posted 72 hours in advance, so does it mean we don't go today? We don't have an alternative site in our agenda.
I think that.
This says to take appropriate action.
Yes, it does.
That, I think, would be appropriate action.
To have a field trip?
Well,
When required, not every agenda item.
what we can do is, we want to talk about it in executive session because we're in the negotiating phase. And obviously that needs to be done confidentially. As far as the action to be taken, if there's going to be any action taken, we can do it after executive session, because we have that is on the agenda. Or we can schedule an official site inspection at a subsequent meeting. But what I'm hearing from my county attorney is we have to identify where that location is going to be, where we're going to be, so the public can come to us if they want to. But if it's an executive session, we can't let them in anyway, can we?
That's right. That's right.
So, kind of, we've got to tell them where it is so they can't come in if they show up.
Well, wait a minute, it has to be posted because it's a quorum,
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
but it's an executive issue, so,
But the truth of the matter is, any one of us, and any one of the public can go by and take a look at these locations.
Right.
And we're happy to disclose where they are, because I think the public knows who properties that we're talking about. And just so that the public, so there's no misunderstanding, one of the properties is, I forget the name of the group, but they own 5 acres over by Freeman Fritz.
VA
dogs.
veterans, VA
Service dog.
Service dog.
Whatever.
And it's
Service dog training, I think.
5 acres adjacent to Freeman Fritz out off Spur 100.
right.
Then the other property we're looking at is approximately just short of 16 acres, which is behind Road and Bridge, right there on Spur 100, and it goes back between the VA and the national, the 2 cemeteries over there.
Correct.
So those are the properties that we're looking at, so that the public knows. And whether we can go there in executive session today or not, I want to encourage all of the commissioners to go by there and take a look at it. we'll discuss in the executive session where we are with regard to the negotiations. Okay?
Is this time sensitive?
No? But it's year-end sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get things wrapped up for this year.
Sort of tough.
There's a 30,000 foot look at time.
It is.
Right, end of the year.
Time to reflect over the year and make
It's
sure we
not
got
by
it
your
wrapped
watch,
up.
it's by your calendar.
So with that, let's go ahead and move on to item 1.8, which is the addendum. And this is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to hire a chief public defender for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. And sometimes I look back on this year and think, look at all the things that we've had to do and that we've accomplished. We have moved amazingly rapidly with this public defender's office. And last Friday, we interviewed our final 3 applicants. This is the oversight board. And just to remind everybody, the way this public defender's office is structured, it is a department of Kerr County. And these 31 new employees will be Kerr County employees. And Kerr County has 3 members on that oversight board, 3 of the 11. Mayor Commissioner Letts, myself, and Keith Williams, our retired district judge, who is the chairman of that board. We were elected at our organizational meeting. And but what the oversight bylaws require that at least 7 of the 11 board members have to agree to the hiring and firing of the chief public defender. And we had 8 that attended in person last Friday, and it was unanimous for those 8. And from what we hear from the 3 that weren't there, they are in agreement too. So I think we're talking about a unanimous recommendation. But it is ultimately this court that hires that chief public defender, because that person is this county's employee. And that was crystal clear at our interviews that we had on Friday. So with that, the recommendation from the Oversight Board of the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office is to offer a position to be the Chief Public Defender to John Bull from San Antonio. He is, I can't go into his personal details, but he was the presiding municipal judge of San Antonio for 16 years. And that to be a presiding judge for that court system down in San Antonio requires that his contract had to be renewed every 2 years, so he was renewed 8 times. He has supervised over 150 employees for this period of time, and been in charge of a $30 million budget. And is an adjunct professor at St. Mary's Law School in trial advocacy. And we think a very good resource to be able to recruit young up-and-coming lawyers for us. And so very impressed with him. The other 2 applicants we were also impressed with. We'd hire both of them if we could. But we can only offer this one position. We have encouraged the other 2 as well that we interviewed, as well as a couple of other ones that we didn't interview, to apply for senior positions in this office because we were impressed with their credentials as well. But that's the recommendation of
Can you say who the other 2 were?
I don't know if we should or not.
I don't know.
If they haven't,
We haven't, they haven't been.
applied, I don't think we should.
I'm
None of
happy to share with you
none
individually.
of them have been advised as what the recommendation is because it's this court's decision.
Okay.
So I'd hate for them to hear.
Right.
Yeah, they haven't been advised yet.
Okay, okay,
I mean, if they're watching YouTube, they know.
Yeah, they-
And the one being recommended hasn't been advised yet.
okay. But they're watching YouTube, they're kind of up to speed.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the PDO can't move forward until the county decides whether or not you want to accept our recommendation or not.
is, he was presiding judge at what court?
The San Antonio Municipal Court System.
San Antonio, okay.
And he was
And their
a
budget, his budget was what?
30 million.
30 million, wow.
Lots of
A
experience.
couple of,
Hiring, firing, supervising, training, budget experience, very, very well.
And does he plan to commute from San Antonio here, or?
No, he's agreed to move to 1 of 5 counties,
Okay,
just like we requested.
okay.
the thing that, the reason, it was very, very close between Mr. Bull and another applicant. And the difference was his administrative experience.
Right.
This position is starting an office from scratch, and it's, in my mind, the administrative portion of it's almost, probably is more important than the legal
Probably so, right.
proficiency.
Yeah.
And he has benefited through his career that he's a very good administrator. He's a very interesting personality, very confident, He knows what he wants to do. I think he's already have some of his staff in his mind who he would like to hire if he's the one selected. He's,
That takes care of part of it.
yeah, he's
He'll hit the ground running.
he's ready to go. He's a force to deal with.
Good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now, just by way of information, we said we interviewed 3. The third one that we haven't mentioned is much younger, with 10 years of experience rather than the 20 to 30 that we're looking at with the other 2. And we were very impressed with her. We would certainly love for her to apply for one of the senior positions because she's an up-and-comer. She really is.
So was Mr. Bull interested in this because it's a new challenge? Was that the idea or what?
Yes,
Yes.
he's in his mid-50s and is retired from the city, and is looking for a new challenge. He's still got some good miles.
Good.
Anyway, I'll make a motion that we offer the position to John Bull at a salary, we didn't set salary too correct, at $120,000,
Second.
which is within the budget allocated by the grant.
So we've got a
Grant
motion by
money.
Commissioner
Grant
Letts and a
money.
second by Commissioner Harris.
Right.
So now, discussion.
I just want to make sure everybody realizes what Commissioner Letts just said. It's grant money, and we're stewards of it to manage it.
It's
But-
80/20.
80% of it is.
Well,
yeah.
the majority of it comes from the grant.
And we end up, it's 37% Kerr County pays? 38% of the total budget. And
This year.
Salary for this year,
Because we're going to do this on case counts every year.
but it'll be reallocated, but, so it's, but it will be basically a 30-person department eventually, we believe. And this is the most critical spot.
This person actually does the hiring and firing for the non-legal staff as well as the legal personnel. So
And
we're not going to have control over who he hires, we can just make recommendations.
And I think we will recommend that he come up maybe at our next meeting or the meeting after
Yes.
that, just to introduce him to everybody.
So it'd be kind of like the airport board. He's in charge of the operations, administration, execution of public defender's office, his budget, then he'll come to the court or to the committee. I
He'll
guess.
come to the oversight board
Yeah,
first,
First, right.
but
And then to the.
he's committed to come to each county's commissioners court meetings
Right.
and report, but ultimately, we make the final decision.
Okay.
This is our employee.
That was my understanding.
And the grant, with the grant, we posted this job description at a salary for 120 to 130. And we're opting to go with the 120, and if things work out as well as we anticipate, be able to increase him up to what we've been funded.
Okay, good.
I'll say that I met him once when he came up to visit with Judge Kelly and just passed him through and got the name, and I asked a former judge that I know in San Antonio, and she had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, he supervised 20 judges. He herded 20 cats and had to get his contract renewed every 2
20
years.
fiefdoms.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And he, it was interesting, during his tenure, as city councils changed every 2 years, how his performance review system changed every 2 years. And he was able to navigate, keeping city council happy and essentially, and a lot of issues, the Kerr County Commissioners Court happy, because there is a lot of overlap in magistration and things of that nature.
Well, and
And,
just so the public knows, his letters of recommendation, his references were Phil Hardberger, past Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals, and Mayor of San Antonio, John Klemp, who is the Chief Financial Officer for ACOG, and Bobby Pettis, who was on the City Council. I mean, we're talking about first-rate references.
Yeah, so, he did a good job.
So, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
I have a question. I apologize. Did y'all set the salary with that?
At 120.
Yes, 120.
120, okay. I had it somewhere.
Let's move on to the approval agenda. I saw the auditor here just a minute ago.
There she is.
Trying to give her lead time to race in. And for those that, oh, there you go, okay.
Yeah.
So, 2.1, pay the bills.
Invoices for today's consideration include $223,532.06 for Kerr County. The airport, $1,020.57. County clerk fees, $1,581.20. And the 198th DA forfeiture fund of $7.50.
Move we pay the bills.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to pay the bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 2.2, budget amendments.
There are not any.
2.3, late bills.
There are not any.
2.4, auditor reports.
There are not any.
Thank you very much. Item 2.5, accept monthly reports. This is a
There
special
are
meeting,
none.
so we don't have any. And 2.6, court orders.
Yes, we do have the court orders from our November 23rd meeting, the 38446 through 38462, and court orders from our November 30th meeting, 38463 through 38470. They all look to be in order. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the court orders as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Information agenda, 3.1, status reports from department heads. I don't see any in the room right now. Item 3.2, status reports from elected officials. The only one in the room, two in the room, shaking their heads no. Item 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners.
The only thing I might add is this Friday I'm going to Uvalde to an extension meeting for commissioners, some kind of workshop. So
I'll
we'll
see you there.
Will you?
Going to?
Okay.
So is Schuhart.
Well, I'm glad I'm doing it by Zoom, because we couldn't have all three of us been there. I'm gonna
Oh,
do
yeah,
it
you can do
online.
that.
Oh, we can do,
We can post it.
We had time to set it up. Good thing I brought it up.
That's all right. I had a schedule problem. At the last minute, I realized I could do it via the computer, so
No,
it worked out.
Yeah, I think we've all attended that pretty regularly.
really.
It's usually very good.
Good is
It's
good.
actually better than the ones in Austin or San Antonio, wherever
Right.
the bigger ones are.
That's
Yeah, I'd
that's
like
what
to
I was
see us
told,
do
so that's why I'm
I'd
going.
rather go west.
Yeah. Only thing I have, the Animal Services Committee met last week. Nothing really real eventful there. Everything seems to be going smoothly. Reagan is working on some operational recommended changes and fee structure changes, and that will come to us probably early January. He's been working on that for some time, and it's really not changing a whole lot. And I just made the committee likes to get very detailed on rules sometimes, and I recommend Reagan into the committee. I said, we're not getting real detailed. He needs to have the discretion to operate and make decisions, but a lot of it on the spot. But these are more fees and general rules, but we're not getting into the details of how to operate the facility.
Well, since I'm the liaison to the Historical Commission, I'll remind everybody that this is Pearl Harbor Day.
Yes, it is.
So we should never forget that our nation was attacked on this day. And we made it through that. We're gonna make it through this other stuff too.
Without a doubt, it's bittersweet for me because it's my parents' anniversary and my brother is also getting married today. So it's easy to remember.
Easy to remember.
Well, just to follow up on Commissioner Letts' discussion about animal services, we're getting ready to go into executive session in a minute, and that's a large part of what we're looking at is a place to relocate animal services. So that is something that is very actively under consideration as we proceed.
And since you brought that up, just let me go back a little bit. Something, one of the things that was talked about, and this is, I think, Commissioner Moser was the one that brought it up a year, 2 years ago initially, of us getting out of the adoption business. Direction, it looks like the committee supports, and Reagan and myself, is that the new facility would, well, Reagan would like to get the county's responsibilities back to animal control, less out of, and not much with the adoption. But there is the adoption puzzle that has to be handled, and the direction it looks like we're trying to go is to do something similar to did with Spectra and go with an outside entity to operate the adoption side of the county facility.
Good.
That'd be great.
And the design of it would be such that there'd be kind of connected but separated at the same time, so that it could be
Same general area.
And same building, because we have to house animals for 72 hours. So we have to have a kennel portion in ours. But once it comes to the adoption side, other than back to the reclaims and things like that, which we have to handle, the adoption side, we go out to another entity. And that seems to be well received by the committee to go in that
Fantastic.
direction.
Good, good, great.
Okay, anything else? Then it is 10:56 and the Commissioners Court will adjourn into executive session to discuss deliberation regarding real property pursuant to Chapter 551.072 of the Texas Government Code.
9:50.
Did anyone call Jackie?
No.
In Sean's chair.
We all back here? Okay, the court will come to order. And it was at 10:38 that we came out of executive session. There is no business as a result of that. And there being no further business, then court is adjourned.
I'll have trouble with that.
Hello?